welcome back to your practice. We have a quick, fiery core burn for you today. You will need 2 blocks for this flow. We're going to get started laying on your back. Do make sure you have one of your blocks close by because you will need it. For now, you're going to lay down, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Take one hand to your low belly and one hand gently on your heart. Start to move your breath. Allow your chest to rise, your belly to inflate. As you breathe in, even feel the sides of your ribs start to expand. And take one more breath in here. And exhale. And then hold the exhale. I want you to focus on drawing your low abs in and down towards the floor. So much that you start to feel your hip bones feel like they're wrapping towards each other, and you have to put on like a really, really tight pair of jeans after you ate a lovely meal full of pasta and bread and all the things. See if you can maintain that connection even as you move your breath. So we're working to connect to the deepest layers of the core so that as we move in our practice, we don't lose this core connection simply because we're taking a breath and we're maybe moving an arm or a leg at the same time. Things are going to get a lot more complicated. So let's dial that in right here. You're going to grab your block, medium width most likely, place it between your knees. Add a little squeeze on the block as you feel that deep core connection. Sometimes, for many of us, adding that little squeeze and turning on of the inner thighs really helps you work that deep core. A little bit of pelvic floor action there. If this is all going well, I want you to float your knees up into a tabletop position. Now, when you do that, a lot of times we will let the abs poke up because we lost that connection to the transverse abs. So dial it back in. There's nothing fast about this work, but it is really powerful. We don't have to do 500 sit-ups. That doesn't even sound like fun anyway. Let's keep things a little more interesting. Wrapping the hip bones towards each other, pulling all of that tissue down into the floor. But I'm not holding my breath. My shoulders are relaxed, my neck is relaxed. Just dialing in this squeeze. Now we're adding on, arms extend straight overhead towards the ceiling, make fists so your arms are nice and strong. Keep squeezing the legs. I'm already starting to feel it. You're going to take your right arm up and overhead to the point that you can no longer keep your ribs down towards the floor. So for me, it's about right here. And then you'll bring this arm back up. And then take the left arm overhead. So this is kind of like a half dead bug, I suppose. Bring the arm overhead. Take the right arm, go back to the first side. I'm just going to keep alternating my arms nice and slow while squeezing the block, keeping that connection to the low belly, while also adding in some work through the upper abs to prevent any movement of my rib cage. Seeing how much shoulder flexion we actually have access to while getting some isometric control from the core. All right, set that block aside. Hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a nice big squeeze. Maybe you want to take some little circles, massage your lower back, massage the top of your hips. It always feels nice. This is some strong, slow work, so be as relaxed as you can in these breaks. All right, next one, extend your legs straight up in the air. You don't have a block, but squeeze an imaginary block between your legs. Find that connection to your deep core. We're going to maintain that. Hip bones are still wrapping towards each other.
So there's no movement in my spine. There's no movement in the pelvis. From here, lower your right leg just about halfway. Now, the lower the leg goes, the more challenging it's going to be to prevent any movement and keep the lower abs pulled in. So there's no doming up, right? That means that we've actually lost the transverse abs. So I like to keep my hands on my abs for this portion because my head's on the floor. I can't see what's happening. And this is different than a lot of times that we teach core, but I actually like to breathe in at the top and then exhale as I lower the leg and bring it back up. Because for me personally, that helps me feel that connection in the deep core. Slowly alternating the legs. Maybe they're going a little bit lower each time. As we're getting familiar with the movement, you start challenging your strength and stability. But know that you don't have to go anywhere close to a hover just above the floor if it compromises your form and your control. Because then your lower back muscles are just going to hate you later. Hug your knees into your chest. Rock and roll up and down your spine. A little bit of sneaky core movement here to make that a nice smooth rock. Find your way into a tabletop position. Shoulders over hands, hips over knees. We're going to do some cat cows. That will feel so nice. Now, your cat pose is an opportunity to make space in the back of the ribs and connect to your lower core. Your cow pose is a moment to let the upper abs stretch and also start to wake up your back muscles. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards your hips to widen across your collarbones. And while this is definitely a global pose, for a few breaths, I want you to focus on just the movement of your hips and your lower back. And then another few breaths, you can focus on the movement of your ribs and your shoulders. We are going to be on our hands later in this practice, so we're not going to completely ignore them. Push the floor away. So you have a little cat in your upper back here. We're going to have a neutral spine. So the lower abs are pulled in, but now not so much that I'm tucking the tail and finding flexion in the spine. Natural curve in your lower back is some extension. And it's a very fine distinction between those two things. And if you're ever in doubt, take a video of yourself from the side view so that you can see what's actually happening. Tuck your toes under. We're going to add an element of movement here. So you'll take a breath in, and then when you exhale, you'll use your lower belly to lift your hips and hover your knees just an inch or so off the floor. And then we get a break, and then you do it again. Tiny movement. You will definitely feel some quads working. Breathe in, and then breathe out. Lift up one more time. But it's a small movement from deep inside you. Untuck your toes, sit back, little child's pose to rest. Breathe in, expand your ribs on all sides, and even the sides of your waist, even down into the back of your pelvis. Feeling that pelvic floor relax as you breathe in, and then contracts as you breathe out to send the air out. Come back into your tabletop position. We've got some bird dog work here. So extend your right leg straight back behind you, toes on the floor to start. Low belly pulled in nice and tight. The longer the lever is, your leg in this situation, the more challenging it's going to be to not sag in your lower back. So find that connection to your lower abs, squeeze the glute, lift the right leg, and then your opposite arm is going to go out in front of you. Holding this position, driving down through your right arm, hug your elbow to your knee to your elbow. Inhale, extend, and then exhale, curl in. Use that exhale to help you feel your low belly. Inhale, you extend, and exhale, we curl in. Inhale, extend. Now hold, bend your right knee to 90 degrees. You're going to swing it out to the side. Then bend your left elbow, bring it out like cactus arms. And again, the work here is to prevent any movement from my hips to my shoulders. That right hip is definitely going to start talking to you. Inhale, you extend front to back. Exhale, 90-90. Inhale, you extend. Exhale, bend. Now that right knee is probably not going to make it all the way up as high as your hip if your hips are level, and that is totally okay. In fact, it's preferred. I want you to think about no movement. Whew. All right, sit back. Child's pose. Definitely feeling that side. Thankfully, we only have 2, which means this is going to be our last round. Come back into your tabletop. Left leg goes back behind you, toes on the floor to start. That'll help you find level hips, connect to your low belly. The strength of your glute is going to be key here, in addition to the strength of your lower abs, to lift that left leg and help stabilize everything. Right arm goes out in front of you. Make yourself really long when you take a breath in. When you exhale, curl everything in. Inhale, extend. Exhale and curl. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Extend, hold. Bend the left knee. Cactus the right arm. Swing the left leg out to the side. Inhale, you go front to back. Exhale, bend. Trying not to wiggle too much. Exhale. There definitely is an added element of balance challenge here as well. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. Whew. All right, child's pose. Definitely feeling both sides of the outer hips. Downward facing dog. Tuck your toes, send your hips high. Let's hang out here for a bit. Pedal your heels, wiggle the hips. Spread your fingers wide. Push the floor away. Think about breathing into your ribs on the back, almost like a cat pose, especially if you have a tendency to melt your chest towards your thighs. Lift your right leg high to the sky, bend your knees, stack your hips open. Squeeze your heel to your glute. You won't touch, but you'll definitely feel that right hamstring start firing. Also opening up the hip flexor. Draw your knee in towards your nose. Round and curl. Push the floor away. Keep your hips high so you can step your right foot between your hands. Reach your right arm to the sky for a nice lunge twist. Now, I like to use a block here just to have a few extra inches of height. Right knee is still pointed forward, so I'm actually getting a stretch on the outside of my right hip that just got worked. Take a breath in, open up your chest. When you exhale, you're going to reach underneath and across for your back outer ankle. Now, I'm never actually going to touch, but pull your belly in, try to round your spine and reach through the right arm, so I'm getting a stretch in my lats. Inhale, open up, and then exhale, pull through. Inhale, reach. Exhale, curl, reach, reach, reach. Inhale, open up. And then from here, gently drop your back knee. I'm going to reach for the back of the room and hug my left heel towards my hip. Again, working that hamstring. You can flex the ankle or point your toes. And then right forearm comes to the earth. You can move that block to the side. You could always put your forearms on your block here. Nice little break for the outer hip. Let's switch sides. From down dog, send your left leg high, bend your knee, stack the hips open. Squeeze heel to butt. Say hi to that hamstring. Whew. We do a lot of stretching of them, but we also want to teach them how to fire. When you exhale, draw your knee to your nose, round and curl, push the floor away, try to make some space, because now you got to step your left foot between your hands. Extend your left arm to the sky. Lunge twist. Shoulders back, broad across your chest. Doing your best to keep the hips square without letting that left knee drift out to the side. When you exhale, reach under and across for that back ankle. Inhale, sweep it up and open. Exhale, round, reach through. Inhale, use that low belly strength. Exhale. Inhale, open up. Lower your back knee, reach for the back of the room, chest stays open, hug your right heel to your butt. I usually flex my ankle, dorsiflex my ankle, because it's a little less calf and I get more hamstring. But you can also point your toes, whichever works for you. Bring your left forearm to the floor. Again, you can rest your forearms on that block. Bring the floor closer to you. Hug your left knee in so you stretch that outer hip. Set the blocks aside, step it back, downward facing dog. Big breath in and a breath out. Spread your fingers wide. Little bend in the knees is nice here to get a little more length in the spine. Good solid hip hinge. Now bring it forward into a plank. All right, we got to build some more strength in the arms, challenging our core here again in this prone position, face down position. Spread your fingers wide. Push the floor away. Strong through your legs. Strong through your lower belly, but not so much again that we're trying to flatten out that lumbar curve, and also not letting the hips go higher than the shoulders. That'll actually turn off the core and you can get away with this shape without using it. And the whole idea with this practice is to fire up that low belly. So what happens if you drop your hips 1 inch? If you feel more of that activation in your core, that could be your sweet spot. Strong glutes, strong legs, soften through the jaw. Spread your fingers wide. Push the floor away. Think cat between your shoulder blades. Protraction if you like fancy words. We're breathing the entire time. And then knees down, sit back, child's pose. Nice job. Make fists. Roll out your wrists in all directions. We do have more work on the hands coming at us. So try to get all directions nice and smooth. Feeling that stretch in both sides of your forearms. Coming back to your breath if you lost it. Walk the hands underneath the shoulders. Lift yourself up. You're going to find your blocks. All right, here we go, gang. So the blocks are going to sit on the sides of the mat. Lowest height for me. You might go higher. And they're just wide enough that you can sit on your shins in between them. Palms on the block. I'm about mid-thigh here. You could go closer. Definitely don't go towards your knees. Take a deep breath in. And when you exhale, round your whole spine, put your forehead on your knees. Oh, it feels really far away this first round. Hollow out that lower belly to tuck the tail. Think about sending your mid-back, your upper back towards the ceiling and push your hands into the blocks. That's actually going to help you and prepare you for where we're going. Chin tight to your throat so forehead can go to your knees. Come back up, take a moment. All about that deep core connection here. Let's do it again. Breathe in. Breathe out. Complete flexion of the spine, chin to throat, not so much collarbones, it's tighter than that. Mid back towards the ceiling, pull the lower belly in as you round. We're doing a few reps here. Go at your own pace. Push through the blocks with your arms. You're gonna feel that serratus turn on. And then you come up, you rest, you take a moment, and then you do it again. If your hips come off your heels, that's totally okay. You'll notice that mine do as well. But I'm focusing on feeling the hollowing out of the lower abs, the strength of the arms without straining. Forehead to knees can feel pretty impossible, I know. But as long as you're feeling that deep core connection, we're doing great. Here's the next drill. You can always go back to the one that we did before. Or you follow me, put your forehead on your knees, but this time lift your hips and lean more into your arms. You can always watch a few and then get back into it. When you exhale, rock your weight forward onto your arms, push into the blocks, and knee to nose. Using your lower belly to lift your hips so you're not crashing and smashing your feet, right? You got to shift your weight into your arms. Otherwise, the weight of your lower half is not going to feel good on your toes. Whew, okay. Shake out your wrists, shake out your arms. Let's shake it all off. Set those blocks aside. Lay down on your back. I know you think we're getting a break, but we're not quite done. Stretch your arms up overhead. Whew, that'll feel nice. And then hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Rock and roll, rock and roll. Again, partly because it feels nice, but also because it helps you feel that flexion in your spine, the places that are pretty flat and clunky. All right, here we go. Take your knees a little wider than your hips. Big toes to touch. So I have active legs here. Extend your wrists as you reach up towards the ceiling. And I'm going to try to do a handstand with my hands. Put your knees on your triceps on your knees, and drive them into each other. So my hips are rolling up off the floor, my shoulders are off the floor, and I'm basically doing crow pose. Reach for the ceiling, arms and legs push against each other. And now we're going to take it into crow. You can always lay on your back and do another round if your wrist's bothering you or if your shoulders are spent. Otherwise, plant your hands, lift your butt in the air, put your knees on your triceps, and rock your body weight forward onto your hands. Naturally, my knees are going to drive into my arms. I don't have to worry about that. The work is to drive your arms back into your legs. You're going to feel serratus. You're going to feel lats. Also, you're going to feel freedom in your neck. Come down into a squat. If you like, you can sit on a block in your squat because this is your resting pose after all. We have another round. So once you're ready, let's do it. Plant the palms. Notice how high my hips are to start. That's a really good thing if you're first learning to get into this pose, because once my weight is already that high, all I have to do is keep it up there. I don't have to work to lift it up while I'm also balancing on my hands. Rock the weight forward. Grip with your fingers. Those are your brakes. Push your arms against your legs. Hug everything into this center point that you feel like you're pulling up higher to the ceiling. You're also breathing the whole time. Gently as you can, come down to your toes, rock back onto your bum, and then lay down onto your back. With your feet on the floor, knees bent, windshield wiper, side to side. Let your legs be really loose and floppy here. Awesome way to release your lower back and your hip flexors. Relaxing your breath. Hug your right knee into your chest. Extend your left leg out long. Really reach through your left heel so that we start to open up through the front of the left hip. Since we did a lot of hip flexion, we're on the second side. Giving a nice squeeze to that left knee. Maybe you want a little circles here where you gently pulse it in and out, just a couple of inches. Right leg is strong and long on the floor. And then both legs on the earth. Stretch your arms up overhead. Take a big full body stretch. Relax your arms by your sides. Shavasana rest. Take a breath in, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Bring some movement to your ankles, your wrists. Bend your knees, plant your feet. Roll to your side so you can use your hands to help you lift up. Find a comfortable seat. Once you're there, inhale, stretch your arms up overhead, sit up tall. Exhale, hands come down to your heart. Breathe in. Soften the shoulders as you breathe out. Bow your chin to your chest. Rest your hands on your thighs. Lift your chin, open your eyes.